What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to another Football Manager 2019 Top 5 Countdown. Of course, if you've not seen this series before, we do Football Manager Top 5 Countdowns. There'll be a playlist down below that you can check out for more of these. Today, we are going to be counting down the top 5 Sugar Daddy clubs in FM to manage. A Sugar Daddy, of course, a person who will plough obscene amounts of money into a team to ensure its success on the pitch. Each and every one in this countdown is a foreground Sugar Daddy. They're going to bankroll you. Let's get into the countdown. Hopefully you enjoy this. So the first team in our countdown, and the only team I promise in China in this list, I've gone with Jiangsu Suning. This a team who play in the Chinese Super League. Last year they had a horrific season, finishing 12th. You can see prior to that they finished second on a few occasions. But this is a club with not a whole lot in the way of success despite its bankrolling. As I said, they have a lot of money ploughed into them. Of the teams on this list, they're probably the only team that are going to have players that you recognise. They've got Ramirez, they've got Alex Teixeira, Eder, players that you may well recognise if you're a European football fan, certainly, who have made their way over. And of course, being a team in China, you can see here, they do offer pretty crazy wages to their players. In terms of money, you have to work with a big transfer budget, but nothing the way the wage budget in the first year. Of course, you can maybe do some jiggling around of the money there. But the reason this team's on the list is because this league here, the Chinese Super League, has 5 clubs who are sugar daddies. This is one of the teams that's had their sugar daddy the longest and just haven't really performed. If we just look at their history, you can see here one Chinese FA Cup in 2015 and also a Chinese Super Cup in 2013. The only 2 real bits of silverware of note in their locker. And well, after an atrocious season last year, they are in need of a bit of tender loving care. Of course, the other interesting thing about China is it's a country which is very much on the up in footballing terms, considered the highest reputation league in Asia. Lots of players making big moves over. Chinese football as a whole, I imagine, in the next few decades is really going to start to explode. And you could definitely try and be a driving factor behind that by bringing through the next generation of Chinese players alongside your superstars, Jiangsu Suning. Coming in at number 4 in this countdown, we have a Swiss team, a country that, I'm going to be honest, I've never managed in myself personally in FM, and it's a club that actually have a fair bit in the way of history. You can see established way over 100 years ago, and FC Lausanne-Sport are a team who got relegated last year. Yes, they had a big takeover that happened midway through the season, but it wasn't enough to save them. As a result, they are playing in the second tier here, you can see in Switzerland, where they are expected to walk the league, perhaps not entirely surprising. They have some fairly decent money to start for this division, £8,000 in the bank, £350 wages, and of course with a sugar daddy, as you get success on the pitch, you're really going to feel that kind of off the pitch in terms of the money that you're going to be given. You know, that's really going to be pumped in. Their big player here is Flo, a Norwegian international left-back. He is considered their key player. For this level, he is an absolutely outstanding player with a great personality. But all in all, I just feel like this club is a really interesting one in terms of, because they've just got relegated, but they've still got this sugar daddy, you're going to have this money ploughed into you. And really, I feel like the long-term ambition has to be to take Switzerland by storm. Try and, make your mark in Swiss football, a team and a country that's been dominated by a handful of teams, really. I feel like when you think of Swiss teams, you think of Basel, you think of Young Boys, you think of Zurich, perhaps, teams who have regularly appeared in European football through Switzerland's kind of domestic league. And, you've really got to try and buck the trend there and become the next big thing. I mean, you can see here, looking at past winners, not a whole lot in the way of variety ever since Grasshoppers Zurich, who, they haven't won it since 2003. So, yeah, perhaps a chance for you to put your name back on the map. As I said, this club does have a fair bit of history. They won the Super League, the top flight, on 7 occasions. You can see as recently as 1999, they finished second. Since then, though, they really have had a fall from grace, falling as low as the 4th tier. Since then, they've been a bit of a yo-yo team in recent years. Your aim really is going to be to, get some stability, establish them as a top-flight club, and hopefully, with the backing of your chairman, really make them a force in Europe. Coming in at number 3, we have Johor Darul Ta'zim. I hope I pronounced that correctly. A Malaysian side, a side who I'm sure many of you are not that familiar with. So let me talk about them a little bit. In 2012, they were taken over and refounded with their current name, and since then they have become the driving force of Malaysian football. You can see they have a fantastic stadium. They are the winners, have won the last 4 Super Leagues as well. But something is different about 2018 here in Malaysia, and it's the fact that the coefficient of the nation has risen for the first time in its history to a point where the team who finishes top are going to get an Asian Champions League spot. Yes, this is something that's never happened before this year. When you take over and start your save game, you will have to qualify for it in your first year as Johor, which I'd expect you to do. But I feel like the aim at this save really is going to be to put Malaysia on the map in Asian football. As I said, very much on the up. For the first ever time, they're going to have a team represented in the Champions League. Johor themselves have appeared a number of times in the lower kind of cup, which I think is called the Asian Confederations Cup, kind of the Europa League equivalent. In terms of their team, they've got a fantastic set of players for this kind of level who are really going to be able to compete on a more, really they should be competing in Asian football as far as I'm concerned. Very good players, not on necessarily the biggest wages. Of course, as a sugar daddy club, your wages relative to everyone else are pretty crazy. You can see here 200k transfer budget, £48,000 per week wage budget is large for this level. But, of course, when you put that in contrast to what we were looking at in China, it's a very, very different state of affairs, really. So yes, this an interesting save, I think, for you guys to try out, managing in Malaysia at Johor Darul Tazim. I'd be interested to know how you guys get on if you do go on to manage them. And all in all, slightly different Malaysia league that I'm sure not many of you have managed in. Perhaps not everyone's cup of tea, but I think if you're looking for a save game where you're going to be really trying to establish a smaller nation as a force, this could be the one for you. If you look at the league in terms of how it compares in Asia, it's 27th. That could definitely get pulled up with your help. And you could really put Malaysia on the footballing map, I feel like, in Asia, in an area of the world at which, massive, massive teams with big transfers are really starting to emerge, and it's becoming more and more competitive. Coming in at number 2 in this list, we have Leiria, and I'm going to apologise now to my Portuguese viewers. I've definitely not pronounced that correctly, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce the start of the name. But yes, this team, a team who play in the Portuguese, wait for it, 3rd division. Yes, 3 tiers down, and they have a sugar daddy foreground owner who, if you can be successful, is just going to plough money in to see you rise to the top. Leiria is a city that is based halfway between Lisbon and Porto. And I feel like that is where you are going to be kind of aiming to be in this save. You are going to be wanting to nestle between the likes of Lisbon and Porto as a top dog in Portugal. Your media prediction first season is to win the league. Of course, with this league, you go through a very complicated regional qualifying stage. The Portuguese 3rd tier is divided into 4 leagues, if I'm not mistaken, with a playoffs at the end. So your first season is not necessarily going to be the easiest. But all in all, this club has a lot going for it. You can see a very, very big squad with players at this level who are extremely talented and not on the biggest money at all. And I feel like you've really got to be aiming to really make yourself a force in Portugal at this side. It's not going to be easy. Portugal, though, a very competitive league. If you're looking for a save in a larger European league, this is probably as close as you're going to get with the foreground sugar daddy teams that don't start in the top flights of their respective leagues within Europe. But regardless, I think Leiria are an extremely exciting team. They obviously only had their takeover happen in 2015 and put them on the map. That's the aim, isn't it? First season, though, very, very challenging. Going down to the 3rd tier of Portugal as well, something that I'm guessing not many people have done before. And for those reasons, they really provide a unique prospect as a club to manage in FM19. And finally, guys, in at number 1, a team who I'm sure most of you have never heard of before, Larne FC. They play in the Northern Irish Championship, the 2nd tier. They're predicted to win the league this year, but that really doesn't tell half the story. This is a club who, a little over a year ago, were bottom of the league and had 50 fans turning up for every match, kind of tops. So you might be wondering, Jack, how the hell do they get on this list? Well, as it turns out, Kenny Bruce, who was a local entrepreneur, He bought out the club in 2017. He bought the ground off the council for over £100,000. He's promised in excess of £5 million to be invested into the squad in the coming years. And as a result, Larne are a team on the up. They have had their whole club infrastructure changed over the last year. You know, new training facilities, a new academy set up. And they are a team now who are in the Irish second division, should be making a push up in the first season, and that is very much reflected by the fact that if we look at the season preview, Larne, they are predicted to win it all. And as you look through here, you'll see, for the most part, most of these players in this team of the division are their players. And well, the expectation first year is going to be very, very high at Larne. In terms of your money, you can see here 7k on the wages free. That is a hell of a lot of money at this level. £15,000 as well in terms of wages. You have the ability to overhaul this squad completely, even further if you want to. In truth, I don't think you necessarily need to. The main focus, I think, has got to be just expanding the first team, getting a few more players in here. Out of all the teams on this list, this is the one that most appeals to me as a team to potentially manage down the line at some point this year. They are a team who are very much on the up. I think they've got a nice little story about them, about a local person from the area buying out the club, wanting to put them with, you know, some strong footing to go forward. They should dominate the league first year, and I think long term, ultimately, your aim has got to be to try and put Northern Irish football on the map. Obviously, the nation hasn't exactly made the biggest impact in Europe across, well, the Europa League or the Premier League. But maybe with the backing of your, obviously, chairman in Kenny Bruce, you can be the man to bring that success to Northern Ireland and really up the profile of the country as a whole when it comes to European football. Anyway, guys, that does round up this video from me. I do hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you made of my selection. Just to further clarify, obviously, all the managers and chairmen, rather, on this list were front-end chairmen. There's a difference in terms of sugar daddies. You get some who will bail a team out when they're in financial trouble, some who will pay a little bit of money and back, you know, shorter term, and then the front-end sugar daddies, which all of these teams have, are just people who are going to continually plough money into the club for as long as they are here. Anyway, if you did enjoy this list, leave a like. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Check out the top 5 playlist down in the description below. And other than that, it is me, Jack, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.